Some games don't just pass the time, they take it without asking. Not because they're long, but because they pull you in with worlds that feel alive, stories that stick, and moments you didn't expect to care about so much. These are the games that quietly blur the line between just one more hour and where did my weekend go? So here are 25 games that won't just entertain you, they'll steal hours of your life, and you probably won't even mind. There's something uniquely compelling about the way Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 strips away fantasy and focuses on raw historical realism. No dragons, no magic, just the hard, muddy, unromantic truth of medieval life. It doesn't hand you power, it makes you earn every inch of progress. Sword fights aren't choreographed spectacles, they're messy, brutal chess matches where fatigue, positioning, and technique actually matter. When you ride through the Bohemian countryside, it feels like stepping into a world that's been lived in, scarred by war, and stitched together by fragile alliances. And because it follows the thread of a real human being, Henry, a blacksmith's son, it keeps everything grounded. You don't start off important, but your growth, shaped by hunger, blood, and stubborn persistence, makes the journey feel truly personal. This isn't just a game you play, it's a life you endure, and one you can't easily walk away from once you've tasted how real it feels. Black Myth Wukong doesn't feel like it's following any blueprint, it's carving one out of stone with fire and myth, built on the foundation of the classic Chinese tale Journey to the West. This isn't a retelling so much as a reinterpretation through the lens of a team that clearly reveres the source, but isn't afraid to push boundaries. What makes it captivating isn't just the fluid combat or the surreal creature design, it's the way it plunges you into folklore with unapologetic boldness. You're not asked to understand everything right away, you're expected to feel your way through it, like walking through a dream where logic doesn't always apply. Wukong isn't a hero in the traditional sense. He's flawed, unpredictable, sometimes monstrous, but you follow him anyway, drawn in by the mystery of it all. It's rare for a game to feel like it's letting culture breathe through its mechanics, but Black Myth Wukong doesn't just want to entertain you, it wants you to listen to something ancient speaking through the chaos. If nostalgia had weight, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth would be a heavy game. But what's remarkable is how it doesn't lean on its legacy. It actively questions it, reshapes it, and invites players to walk a parallel path that feels both familiar and unsettlingly new. The Midgar section was tight and urban. Rebirth is sprawling and organic, letting you exhale in open spaces where the past lingers in ruins and memories. It doesn't rush. The quiet moments matter. Watching Cloud hesitate before responding, hearing a subtle change in Tifa's voice, walking through a town that feels like it remembers you even if you don't remember it the same way. The battle system is more refined, sure, but it's the narrative risks that make this version feel alive. It's not asking you to relive your childhood. It's asking if you've grown up enough to see this story from a different angle. The hours melt away not just because it's long, but because you're chasing shadows of meaning, hoping to understand a game that's not trying to give you answers, only echoes. There's a strange contradiction at the heart of Cyberpunk 2077, a world so loud, bright, and saturated with excess, yet constantly pushing you into moments of quiet reflection. With Phantom Liberty, the narrative focus narrows, and suddenly the stakes don't feel global. They feel personal, raw, and terrifyingly fragile. It's no longer about just surviving in Night City. It's about whether the choices you make still matter in a world designed to erase you. V is more than a vessel now. They're a person defined by desperation, loyalty, and a lingering sense of mortality. Dogtown, with its decaying grandeur and merciless politics, mirrors the central question of the game. Can freedom exist in a system designed to crush it? And somehow, the longer you spend in this dystopia, the more you start to see traces of beauty, graffiti poetry, glitching billboards telling half-truths, rogue AIs that just want to be heard. This isn't about role-playing a merc, it's about living with consequences and choosing who to become before the clock runs out. You don't have to be a lifelong Harry Potter fan to feel the strange pull of Hogwarts Legacy. It's not just the castle, though exploring its endless staircases and forgotten chambers can feel like uncovering memories you never had. It's how the game manages to give you ownership over a fantasy that was previously locked behind a bookshelf or a movie screen. You're not following a chosen one, you're defining your own path, crafting spells that reflect curiosity or cruelty, and forming connections with students who feel like real people rather than scripted archetypes. There's a quiet pleasure in walking through the greenhouse in the rain or discovering a puzzle tucked behind a tapestry. The story takes its time, and that's part of the appeal. It trusts that you want to soak in the world, not just sprint through it. And by the time you've unlocked every secret passage and tamed every magical beast, it doesn't feel like a game you've played. It feels like a second term you're not ready to leave behind.
You'll regret crossing my path.
Marvel's Spider-Man 2 doesn't waste your time with introductions. It knows you've swung through this city before, but this time the web feels tighter. There's a weight to the dual narrative between Peter and Miles that makes the action feel more like a burden than a thrill, and that's what makes it powerful. This isn't just a superhero game, it's about mentorship, grief, identity, and the constant tension between doing good and feeling whole. New York isn't just bigger, it's more personal. Almost as if the city knows these two Spideys and responds to them in quiet ways. Subtle music shifts, shifting crowd dynamics, weather that mirrors mood. Venom's presence isn't just a plot point, it's a manifestation of pressure, temptation, and change. Every web swing feels familiar, but every story beat reminds you that you're not the same player you were in the first game. You grow with these characters, you carry their losses, and you stay, hour after hour, not because it's flashy, but because it refuses to treat heroism like a costume you can take off. What makes Assassin's Creed Origins unforgettable isn't just the leap into ancient Egypt, it's how it redefined what this franchise could be. Bayek is not just a killer hidden in the shadows. He's a father, a husband, and a man shaped by revenge that slowly morphs into something deeper. Purpose. The deserts stretch wide, filled with silence that speaks louder than any dialogue. Temples rise from the sand like memories left behind by gods. And the sense of scale isn't just physical, it's emotional. This world isn't built to serve you. It's there to challenge your understanding of what justice looks like in a time ruled by empire and belief. There are moments where you forget you're playing a game, you're just watching the sun fall behind the pyramids, wondering how far humanity has really come. Origins demands patience and rewards it with beauty. It's not about uncovering secrets for XP, it's about honoring a world and a man who never truly got peace. To play Death Stranding is to willingly enter solitude. It doesn't lure you with instant gratification, it dares you to endure. The landscape isn't hostile in the traditional sense, but it wears you down. Rain that accelerates time, terrain that turns every step into a decision, and enemies that aren't meant to be fought, but avoided, respected. You are Sam, a porter, but the cargo you carry weighs far more than its listed kilograms. Every delivery, every connection is a quiet act of defiance against the isolation that defines this fractured world. It's slow, often meditative, occasionally absurd, and that's the point. Death Stranding isn't here to entertain in a traditional sense. It's here to ask, what does rebuilding actually look like? What does it mean to be essential in a society that's fallen apart? The game invites you to reflect, to contribute to something bigger than yourself, and in doing so, it doesn't just steal hours, it earns them.
What are you gonna do to her?
What I'm supposed to do? Keep the extinction entity safe until the slate is wiped clean.
Few games manage to feel limitless without becoming overwhelming, but Elden Ring achieves that through mystery, not exposition. You're not led, you're left. Left to find a broken world that whispers stories instead of shouting them. Every ruin feels like it once mattered. Every enemy seems to have a reason for its anger. And every boss fight becomes a pilgrimage, not because of the challenge alone, but because of what you bring to it. The freedom isn't just in where you go, but in how you interpret the silence between the lore. From Software has created something where failure is not punishment but permission, to try again, to understand deeper, to grow. The game respects your intelligence, your curiosity, and your resilience. You'll spend hours wandering through a fog-drenched forest or navigating a decaying castle, not because you're told to, but because you want to understand why it was built and what it means. Elden Ring doesn't hold your hand. It offers you a world and trusts you to carry it. Ghost of Tsushima is not just a samurai game, it's a meditation on identity, honor, and the quiet erosion of tradition. Jin Sakai begins his journey bound by the code of the samurai, but the island of Tsushima doesn't care about codes, it demands survival. And as the Mongol invasion intensifies, so does Jin's internal conflict. The beauty of the game lies in contrast. You ride through fields of golden pampas grass while preparing to assassinate enemies from the shadows. You write haiku under a falling moon and then cut down foes with surgical precision. The combat is satisfying, but it's the emotional undercurrent, this tug between legacy and necessity that keeps you invested. This isn't a story about saving an island. It's about losing parts of yourself to protect what's left. And with every shrine visited, every duel fought beneath cherry blossoms, you're reminded that honor isn't something you inherit. It's something you decide moment by moment over countless stolen hours. When No Man's Sky first launched, it promised infinity and delivered uncertainty. But over time it grew, not just with patches and features, but with a soul. It became less of a game and more of a place, a quiet refuge for those seeking solitude among the stars. The universe here isn't designed for spectacle. It's procedurally generated, yes, but sometimes what matters is the feeling of stumbling upon a planet no one else has seen, naming it, and calling it your own. There's no pressure, no screaming objective marker. You make the meaning. You gather resources not to dominate, but to persist. The hours vanish not in a rush of action, but in the slow satisfaction of discovering new life forms, shaping your ship, or simply watching three suns rise over a violet ocean. It doesn't push you, it waits. It's the kind of game where progress feels like breathing, automatic, quiet, essential. Not every journey needs a destination. Some just need curiosity and time. Aloy's story is personal, but the world of Horizon Zero Dawn is anything but small. It's vast, untamed, and filled with echoes of a civilization that mistook its reach for wisdom. You don't just fight robotic creatures, you learn to live among them. What begins as a tale of exclusion transforms into something layered, a questioning of history, technology, and faith. Every mountain path feels carved with intention, every ruin hiding not just loot but forgotten truths. But it's not just about what the world was. It's about what it became. Horizon is a game where nature has reclaimed the future, and you, as Aloy, must decide what parts of the past deserve revival. The combat is methodical, sometimes frantic, and always earned. You don't button mash your way through this world, you study it, understand it, adapt. And that process takes time. The kind of time you don't even notice slipping away because you're too busy hunting, crafting, listening to old echoes, and shaping new futures.
They know where I am.
Rise of the Ronin isn't here to dazzle you with spectacle or overwhelm you with icon-choked maps. It unfolds more like a historical novel you happen to live inside. Set during a chaotic moment in Japan's transition from isolation to industrialization, it focuses not just on swordplay and rebellion, but on the quiet, painful moments between. You're a warrior without a master, wandering a land where allegiances are fluid and morality is often murky. The combat is deliberate, personal. Each blade clash carries intent, not flash. But what really pulls you in are the conversations, the relationships, the decisions that ripple across a country unsure of what it's becoming. It's about more than revenge or conquest. It's about navigating a world in flux and deciding what values you want to take with you into the future. There's no rush. The game trusts you to walk slowly through its world, and in doing so, it steals time not through speed, but through emotional gravity. There's a specific kind of silence in the wasteland of Mad Max. Not peaceful, not oppressive, but hollow. That silence fills the space where society used to be. You're Max, a man who's lost everything yet still keeps going. Not because of hope, but because he doesn't know what else to do. The game doesn't offer redemption, it offers survival. The desert stretches forever, a canvas of rust and ruin, where every outpost reclaimed and every convoy destroyed isn't a triumph. It's a brief gasp of control in a world that wants nothing more than to erase you. The car isn't just a vehicle, it's your home, your weapon, your only consistent companion. Combat is brutal and unglamorous. Fights are loud and dirty. You build a base, not to thrive, but to stop collapsing. It's a lonely game, and that loneliness is the point. Hours slip by not in adrenaline-fueled chaos, but in the slow realization that this world, stripped of illusion, might be more honest than the one that came before it.
Let me get my hands on you! Get in the frame, brothers! Get him back!
Dying Light 2 doesn't ask you to survive, it demands it every second. The city is alive, but not in the warm way we usually mean it. It breathes danger. Daylight offers a fragile peace. Night brings a hunger you can't fight directly. The parkour isn't just a feature, it's your lifeline, a constant reminder that the ground is no longer your ally. But beyond the fear, beyond the infected and the factions, the game asks, what kind of person are you when the rules are gone? Your choices don't just echo, they fracture alliances, burn bridges, build walls. The story is messy, not because of bad writing, but because survival is messy. No decision feels wholly right. You're building something new from the wreckage of the old, and that means compromise. You'll find yourself climbing towers, not for loot, but for a better view of what remains. It steals your time by making every moment count. You run, you fight, you choose, and you look back only to wonder how much of yourself you left behind. In Far Cry 6, the revolution isn't romantic. It's long, uneven, and riddled with compromises. Set on the fictional island of Yara, you step into the shoes of Danny Rojas. Not a born hero, but someone pushed into rebellion by a world that's burning with decay. Anton Castillo, the dictator you're fighting, isn't a caricature. He's frightening because he believes he's right. The world is beautiful in a disturbing way. Lush jungles and turquoise waters set the stage for executions, corruption, and resistance. It's easy to lose hours in this contrast. One moment you're flying over a mountain with makeshift gear, the next you're listening to a grieving mother in a guerrilla camp. The chaos is seductive. The explosions are loud, but it's the quiet choices that take the most time. When you pause before pulling the trigger, when you wonder if your side is really any cleaner. Far Cry 6 steals your time not through scale, but through a sobering look at how revolutions are born and what they take with them. Shadow of War isn't just another fantasy open-world game, it's a study in obsession. Talion's quest isn't heroic, it's compulsive. You're not saving Middle-earth, you're trying to control it, one broken orc at a time. The Nemesis system turns enemies into rivals, not because the game tells you they matter, but because they do. That orc you burned and left for dead might return with scars and a vendetta, taunting you with a memory you forgot, but he didn't. Every fortress you conquer feels earned, every betrayal feels personal. And the grind, the endless cycle of recruitment and domination, mirrors Talion's slow descent into something barely human. The world is stunning, yes, lush fields, jagged volcanoes, ancient towers, but it's the characters that haunt you. Some of them become allies, some of them hunt you for hours. Shadow of War is about power, but also the cost of wielding it too long. The hours it takes from you are drenched in blood, strategy, and the echo of choices you didn't know you made. Sleeping Dogs is a game that lives in the tension between two lives. Wei Shun, the undercover cop, and Wei Shun, the triad brother. The streets of Hong Kong aren't just a backdrop, they're a character of their own, loud and electric, filled with food stalls, neon signs, and unspoken rules. You're constantly asked to balance violence with restraint, loyalty with duty. The The combat is crisp and raw, built more like a brawler than a shooter, where every punch feels like a conversation in pain. But it's the story that creeps into your mind. As you climb through the ranks of the Sun On Yi, the lines blur. You begin to understand the people you're meant to betray, and that understanding changes you. Every choice, every lie, every moment of trust gained or broken, all of it adds up. The game doesn't shout at you with morality meters or grand declarations, it just lets the consequences fester. And by the time the credits roll, you've spent more time questioning yourself than your enemies. Sunset Overdrive is chaos, but with intent. Its world explodes with color, irony, and sheer disregard for traditional storytelling. At first glance, it looks like a cartoon that overdosed on energy drinks. And that's partly true. But underneath the fourth wall-breaking humor and punk rock sensibilities lies a game about self-expression, movement, and refusing to take the apocalypse seriously. The traversal system is where it steals your hours. It isn't about just getting from point A to B, it's about how stylishly you can do it. You bounce, grind, wall run, and zip across the city like it owes you a favor. The weapons are absurd, the missions are outrageous, and the tone is unapologetically juvenile, but that's exactly why it works. It gives you the kind of freedom most games only tease. You're not saving the world, you're reclaiming fun in a space that shouldn't exist. Sunset Overdrive is an escape, but not from danger, from dullness. And once you're in, it's hard to let go. Days Gone is a slow burn, not because it lacks action, but because it insists on showing you the human cost of survival. You play as Deacon St. John, a drifter and former biker living in the aftermath of a world undone by a viral outbreak. But the real enemy here isn't just the freakers, it's time, distance, and the constant weight of memory. The Pacific Northwest is portrayed not as a playground, but as a graveyard with occasional beauty. The bike becomes your lifeline, and its rumbling engine is as familiar as Deacon's grief. Relationships matter. Every side mission, every favor builds not XP, but trust. Something rare in this broken world. Combat feels dangerous, not empowering. Supplies are always scarce, and choices always come late when you're already tired. What keeps you in Days Gone isn't the promise of a cure or a better future. It's the people who remind you there's still something worth fighting for. It takes your hours, not with explosions, but with quiet persistence.
Hurry, how am I doing? You're almost there. Maybe a quarter to go. St. John, move!
Dead Island 2 doesn't pretend to be deep, but it does understand something a lot of games forget. Sometimes the most immersive worlds are the ones that feel unhinged. Set in a quarantined, sun-soaked Los Angeles crawling with the undead, it turns the apocalypse into a gory playground. Every swing of a bat, every electrified machete, every flaming pipe bomb, there's a crunch, a squish, a reaction. The flesh system doesn't just showcase carnage, it makes you feel the weight of every blow. But beneath the exaggerated violence is a weird, biting satire of influencer culture, celebrity worship, and fake survivalism. You're not a hero, you're just good at killing and trying not to become what you're killing. The narrative doesn't ask much of you, but the world does. It's reactive, bloody, and constantly hungry for your time. You find yourself exploring not because you must, but because every room, every house, every pool party turned slaughterhouse has some twisted story to tell. At a glance, Immortals Phoenix Rising might look like a lighter take on Greek mythology, but don't mistake its humor for shallowness. This game is packed with clever puzzles, surprisingly deep combat, and a world that's actually begging to be explored. Not filled with checklist bloat, but with genuine curiosity. The narration, often bickering between Zeus and Prometheus, adds a meta layer to your journey as Phoenix, a mortal trying to undo a divine catastrophe. What makes this game steal your time isn't just the world, it's how welcoming that world feels. There's an elegance to its open world. Climbing a statue isn't a chore. It's an invitation to think, to plan, to play. Every vault is a test of timing, logic, or both, and instead of punishing you, the game celebrates your perseverance. It rewards not just skill, but attention. And because of its tone, whimsical, never too serious, you end up staying longer than you expected, just to see what weird bit of mythology it's going to play with next. The Witcher 3 doesn't just steal your time, it rewrites your definition of value in gaming. It's one of the few games where the side quests often outshine the main plot, where moral clarity is rare and consequences are permanent. As Geralt of Rivia, a monster hunter bound by contract but guided by something deeper, you roam a world that isn't built around you. It exists despite you. Villages burn, kings fall, and lives unravel whether you show up or not. Every conversation has weight, every decision echoes. The landscapes are heartbreakingly beautiful, from war-torn Velen to the lush shores of Skellige. But it's the people, flawed, scared, stubborn, that keep you grounded.
Right.
It's not a game about
Avalok
power
said they
fantasy.
dwell below
It's
the
about
earth,
how
among
power
its
is
roots.
rarely
No
enough.
chance.
You'll spend
I'm going
hours
after
talking,
Lilith.
investigating, getting
Fine,
lost in
let's play
books,
for it.
fistfights, and Gwent. Not because the game demands it, but because it invites you. Few games are this generous with their world, and even fewer are this honest with their humanity. The Phantom Pain is a paradox. It offers freedom, but cloaks it in grief. You play as Venom Snake, a man built for war, but stripped of identity. The Afghan deserts and African jungles you infiltrate aren't levels. They're sandboxes for strategy, misdirection, and quiet violence. Missions unfold how you choose. Stealth, chaos, trickery, it's your war. But the deeper you go, the more hollow it feels. You're building a private army, rescuing child soldiers, deploying staff, yet every system, every upgrade only sharpens the question, what's left of the man underneath the mask? The game's brilliance is in how it hides narrative within systems. You listen to tapes, not cutscenes. You bond with your horse, your dog, your sniper ally, not through dialogue trees, but action. And when the game reveals its final act, when the mirror turns, it doesn't shock you, it hurts you. You realize the hours weren't just for missions, they were for asking why you kept coming back. And the game, as always, has no clear answer. Red Dead Redemption 2 is less of a game and more of a reckoning. You're not just playing as Arthur Morgan, you're inhabiting him. His story isn't about victory, it's about legacy, guilt, and inevitability. The American West here is painted with the kind of detail usually reserved for novels. Mist rising off rivers at dawn, train whistles in the distance, mud caking your boots after a rainstorm. Every mechanic, from feeding your horse to shaving your beard, asks you to live in the world, not just play it. You'll spend hours doing nothing urgent, hunting for a perfect pelt, sitting by a fire, listening to a campmate's story, and slowly you realize that time itself is the point. It makes you care about moments, not missions. And when the time finally does run out, when Arthur's clock ticks its last, it doesn't feel like a cutscene. It feels like something personal. Red Dead 2 steals your hours because it gives them back differently, quieter, slower, more reflective than when they started.
I tried. In the end, I did. Come on. Let's go. We can make it. Come on, Dutch. Come on! Ah!
Time's the one thing you don't get back, but with the right game, it doesn't feel wasted. Whether you got lost in a massive open world, followed a gripping story, or just explored for the sake of it, these games make every hour feel earned. If you've played any of them, you already know. And if you haven't, maybe it's time to let a few of them steal a little more of your life. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.